All right. I presume by now that you've just finished watching the informative speech sample that I provided about UPS. So I hope you enjoyed that. And this video should help you connect some of the dots. If you were still confused about what an informative speech was or how to do it or what some of the terminology meant, then this is for you. So to begin with, informative speeches are made to accomplish four things. They define, they describe, they demonstrate, and they explain. 3 Ds and an E. That's really it. They are purely factual. And so that means your informative speech should be purely objective. No subjectivity. Now remember the difference. Being objective means you are only relaying the facts. Pure facts, unadulterated, no opinions in there, no versions, no varieties, no nothing, just the unadulterated, most raw facts possible. The temperature that water freezes at is 32 degrees. Objective. Versus a subjective view or perspective-based view, where that is up to the individual. And so you could have 100 people examining and explaining the same thing and give you 100 different accounts, because it isn't possible for them to agree on an objective standard from the individual perspective that way. And I'll give you an example. So I gave you the example of water freezing at 32 degrees. How about the water in this pool is cold? Well, that's subjective. Someone else might think it's warm. Someone else might think it's too warm. It just depends. So you can use those water examples if it helps you. I had a student tell me years ago that a good way to remember it was objectivity, what it is, and subjectivity, how I see it. What it is and how I see it. Objective and subjective. I think that makes a lot of sense, and so I hope that helps you as well. Now, some of the challenges for us in objective, informative speaking, because it is so plain and undressed, it can tend to be a little boring or dry, as you might imagine. I mean, how many show and tells do you want to listen to? You can only sit through so many in a row before you just want to get out of there. Now, therefore, the challenge to us is to try and make them interesting. So what I would say to you is, can you pull off an informative speech about how you got up and had breakfast this morning? Sure. Does anyone care? I doubt it. Is it going to keep our attention? Probably not. You would probably look out into the audience and see faces down, drool on the desk, and listening to the crickets chirping, all those metaphors. So that's not a fun place to be in. Try to come up with something interesting and original. I mean, think about what it is that you do when you come up with a topic. What is interesting about yourself that other people would be surprised to know? Or what do you think makes you unique? Or what experience have you had that makes you unique? You know, any of these things, if it's something that other people aren't going to be familiar with, then that's a great topic, because you run much less of a risk that you're going to bore them with dry information if it's new to them. It's still there, but it's much less of a risk. So the challenge to you is to come up with interesting topics, and people do it. So the challenge is out there. Now, I did want to talk about some of the anxiety that goes into this, because now that we're out of the intro speech and into the informative speech, you're going to be dealing with some of the nerves and the stress and anxiety, et cetera. And so just so that you know, there are generally two different things that cause us to have this great fear of public speaking. Two things trigger us, if you'll pardon the expression. And one is the fear of evaluation. We don't like being judged by others. We don't like the idea that our performance or our actions are being graded or judged or somehow evaluated. No one likes that, generally speaking. There are some who do. Very few. Now, the other thing that causes problems is our general disdain for attention. Most people, when you need a volunteer out of 100 people, are not going to be the ones to leap forward. They're going to kind of stand there and look down at the ground and let somebody else do it. And so that's just generally what people tend to default on because it feels more comfortable. So we don't like to be evaluated, and we don't like all the attention on us. Those are bad things to have if you are going to embark on public speaking, because they're going to be huge obstacles. And so what I can tell you is that there are no magic tricks, and there are no secrets, and there are no clever training exercises that will make you an expert in just 3 short weeks. What will improve your ability and your skill is repetition. And so this is something that is a fear that you would deal with just like any other fear. So if you had a fear of heights, what would be the solution? The solution wouldn't be that we have to make sure that you never have to go anywhere in the world again above the first floor. No, we would begin with some therapy, I guess, and then eventually we would take you out to a building and stand in the lobby and talk about going up the elevator, and then that'd be it. We'd call it a day. Maybe we'd come back the next week, and maybe we would ride up the elevator and back down to the first floor only and just get through that experience. And it would be these incremental baby steps until you finally were so conditioned to be comfortable with it that you were no longer nervous, and you could get in any elevator just like any other person and go to any floor that you wanted. And so that's the only way out of this. I give you my word. It's repetition, and it's becoming comfortable with the process to where you've just done it so much that you're simply no longer nervous doing it. And that's what's going to give that illusion of confidence. Because you'll always be a little bit nervous, just as I always sense it, even mildly before I have to speak, or even as I record now. The pressure is always there. So prepare, rehearse, make sure you have a script. It's going to be very evident if you don't use a script. Try not to have too many edits. I think I made 1, maybe 2 edits in my video. But when you start Frankensteining a video together, it's almost impossible to evaluate because I can't get a read on any of your intentions or expressions. It starts to come across as some of those generic YouTube videos where people are actually going in and editing out the spaces in between words so that they're talking faster. I mean, it's just so unpleasant to listen to. I don't know why you would do that. But have a look at the lecture notes, see what you think about the informative speaking instructions that I'm going to add. They're fairly simple. We'll be looking for fundamentals, so eyes, posture, and voice. And for the informative speech, broadly speaking, the only 4th category that will be there is, did the speaker remain objective, or did you spill into subjectivity? So you've got to be careful. I would advise you to choose a very neutral, bland, and easy topic. It would be a lot easier for you to give a neutral speech about ramen noodles than it would for you to give a neutral speech about the death penalty. So could you give a speech about the death penalty that's informative and does not spill into persuasion, is not subjective? Absolutely. I've had people do it. They would just give me all of the statistics. The death penalty has been around for this long. It's currently used in X number of countries. Here are the different methods. Here's how many people have been executed in the United States since this year. Here's how many people are currently, here are the laws in each of the states. And a person could do that and tell me everything that I needed to know just in an objective, informative way about the death penalty without ever trying to persuade me that I should be for or against it. Only telling me about it. That's a great exercise. If you feel up to that challenge, by all means, I'll give you the nod of respect for that. But you are not required to choose a topic like that. And for a first speech, if you don't have a high degree of confidence, I would just encourage you to choose something like ramen noodles. So we can talk about good topics for informative speeches would be things like topics about objects or processes or events or historical facts, things like this. Things that probably wouldn't be good are things that are controversial. So if you were going to take a position on, let's say, any of the political antics that occurred anywhere between, November of last year and January of this year, let's say. I think it would be very difficult to do because the perspectives there are so different, and I don't know that people agree on facts yet. Sometimes that takes decades, and it still doesn't happen. So just be careful what you choose. Some of those events could be very problematic, though I don't think anything is impossible to do objectively. So by all means, if you feel so inclined, go for it. All right, I hope the lecture helped you a little bit. I really just wanted to unpack some of the factors things you'll be dealing with as you go into this informative speech. You should try and relax. This is the easy one. There's nothing at stake. You're only telling us about something. You're not trying to get us to do something. When it becomes persuasion, then you get judged at the end, inevitably, because you'll know whether or not you were effective by the number of people who go and act the behavior that you wanted to encourage them to do. Informative speaking doesn't have that measure. When you finish the speech, the audience just applauds politely and goes, that's interesting. So I have to try and be the judge of what was made interesting and what was not. And I don't like to give anyone pointers on creativity or style, because I think that is something that should naturally emerge from every person without intentionally trying to get it out of there, without looking for it, without creating a fake persona. That's just awful. It will never work if you create a fake persona. Just give yourself permission to be yourself. Yes, you'll have to clean up a little bit of your language, and you'll have to straighten out some of the context in the terms, and you'll have to sit up straight. And it's not the end of the world. I think you'll enjoy it. And I think when you're done with the course, you'll see the great value in being able to speak to people and present in a confident, fluid way. Okay, I think I better stop there. That's enough for one lecture video before I run out of space here as well. Okay, good luck. Look forward to seeing them. Take care.